Alright everyone, welcome to another anime review.
First off, I do apologize, so I haven't had any other anime reviews out. We've been working on something a little bit different this time. If you haven't guessed, it is May 2022. And for all diehard anime people out there, you should know that May 2022 is significant in the anime world. Why? Because that is when Sword Art Online launched, and today we are going to be reviewing the first season of Sword Art Online. Now, this is the biggest anime review I've done, like considering the amount of episodes. My typical reviews are 12 to 24 episodes. We all know that there's about 100 something episodes to Sword Art Online in total.
Yeah, probably. What is the actual count?
It's the most episodic anime we've ever reviewed here, and I want to do things a little bit differently. Now, my normal formula is, story, animation, and character development and world building. Now, they're kind of still going to be there, but we're not going to do a typical rubric of 10, 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, and an overall score, because for something of this scale, it demands something more. It demands way more, way more of our respect.
What is this more you speak of?
No numbers at all. We're just going to talk about the fallacies and the greatness and the not so greatness. There's so much depth to cover here. So this first episode is going to be basically about the first 12 episodes, which is the Aincrad arc, and then also the second portion of the first season, which is the Fairy Dance arc. I believe that's what they call it, the Fairy Dance arc.
Good Sword Art Online? Bad Sword Art Online.
Get that out of here, because I'm about to show you the reason why you're wrong on some of those.
Really?
On some of those.
I'm going into this not knowing his opinion on this either, so let's get into it.
First off, I want to talk about Sword Art Online's first 12 episodes, which is Aincrad. Hands down, best first 12 episodes out there.
Okay.
And I like how the build up to it, like they're waiting to play this, VMMORPG deep dive game, Nerve Gear, ready to go. For anybody who invents that, I will be your first buyer.
I think there's something in development that's kind of like that.
Yeah, that would be really
I wouldn't doubt there's gonna be something like that.
Eventually, technology's going too fast.
Yeah.
But so you got, we have start off with our main protagonist, the man, the myth, the legend, Kazuto Kirigaya, aka Kirito, our main man.
Mr. Dual Swords.
Mr. Dual Swords, the thickest of plot armor. Like, starts off as like the lone wolf, the beta tester, and the cheater, the beater. That's what they call him. And like, they do. They call him the black swordsman. Mm-hmm. And it all starts out with him after, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this now. This anime's been out for so long that we're going to be spoiling a lot of things. So I'm sorry if you haven't caught on. I'm sorry, guys. Watch it.
Yeah.
But basically, so once they find out that he's stuck in this game, where in this game, if you die in the game, anyways, he finds out that, hey, this is gonna happen, and he has knowledge of the game and whatnot, and he now has to survive in this like MMORPG game, and he has to go through the works. And at first, no one wants to be on his side. He's kind of like a lone wolf guy, and I really like those overpowered characters, in my opinion. I really do. I'm very.
You think Kirito's OP?
Kirito is extremely OP. Are you kidding me? Basically, we follow the story of Kirito as he lives out the first roughly 2 years of being inside trapped in this video game where they have to beat it. Mm-hmm. And I'd say this is probably one of the best arcs in the entire series, because it really does follow him and how he grows as a character, and how he essentially starts to put people on his side. First he's a loner. He befriends a guy named Klein, but eventually he lets him go. Klein is the support character in the series. He befriends another character named Asuna for their first boss battle mission that they do, but he decides to go his own path because he felt that was the best strategy.
Right.
To him, the game world and his reality is kind of starting to merge into one, and he prefers the game world for a lot of various reasons. He almost dies a few times, and eventually a little love thing happens between Asuna and Kirito, where they start to fall in love with each other. They get married, like you say.
Yeah, and they have a kid.
And so there's this AI girl, the little girl named Yui, and essentially she kind of is like their pseudo daughter for a small period of time. But eventually what happens is that Kirito finds out who is who, you know, the main bad guy in here, what happens during the whole thing, and essentially he frees everyone in the game just by being the bad guy, which is Akihiro Kayaba. And he basically ends up winning against them. And that's kind of like, it's kind of like the story of the first 12. But okay, but first and foremost, we have to talk about the most important things here. I love the fact that the world building is so ridiculous. Like there's 100 floors on Aincrad, and each floor feels like its own world. It has its own unique aesthetic, and like I love the just like everything that's like, you know, happens, how, you know, even the NPCs kind of feel right. And you know what I like about this so much is like later on throughout the first 12 episodes, they go back to the first town and it's like completely empty with like just the NPCs there because everyone's moved on to like the bigger levels.
Yeah,
I feel like that's
kind of cool.
Let's talk about the some of the best things, the animation. The animation
for the time
that it came out was on par. Smooth transitions, fast, exhilarating fight scenes. The fight scene where they go up against that blue demon guy, that blue demon boss, and he, you know, busts out for the first time ever his unique skill, his dual wielding sword, and his Starblade, Starstream, oh man, I can never remember. Stardust Stream, something like that. Yeah, it's like basically a 50-hit combo. I mean, come on, if that's not the most OP character, that's serious. Plot armor aside, you know.
No, but you're right though. Like the anime, like, because you've got to put this in perspective. This was like almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, it really was.
And you know, at the time, those action sequences were insane. Like when there was fighting, that's when you're really like, oh, okay, wow, this animation is like kind of a step up from things. I
think the two biggest things that the animation did really good, and if you haven't noticed it, it really did make a difference. Anything actiony and anything involving food. Like I kid you not, watch it. Watch the anime. If you've already seen it, go and watch it and just focus on the food for a second. Where they even made that bread with butter in the first like couple episodes like appetizing, but then like eventually when Asuna and Kirito are together in that cabin, him eating the sandwiches, like those sandwiches are like really, oh my god, they're so good. Like, now I will talk about the gripes about the first episode. It takes over the first 12 episodes. It takes over a span of just under or just over 2 years, and there's a lot of gap. There's so much that you can pack into that. And I want to get into like the second part of the series. We're going to talk a little bit about that because it is disliked by a lot of people.
Oh, sorry, I was jumping the gun. I forget that there's 12 other episodes after the first 12.
So
I thought we were done.
No. He wins the game. He beats Kayaba at his own game and stuff. But now Asuna's still not. She's still quote unquote plugged in. He's in the real world and he's starting to rehabilitate himself. And then we get introduced to the lovely second best waifu of the entire series, Sugawa. You know, everyone's like, I hate the fairy dance arc, but I am going to disagree right now that it's actually decent. Put your hand down. Like, was it as action-packed as the first 12 episodes? No. I will plainly admit that. I will admit that.
Thank you.
However, it did bring some other elements, like the fact that a game solely based on magic, and because that was interesting. If they had a game based on sword art but no magic, what was it going to be like with magic? And the flight system, come on, it was actually pretty cool. Like,
all right,
yeah. Cool. And then we get introduced to a new character called Leafa. Fun fact, Yui comes back as a little fairy to help guide him, you know, and Kirito has all of his powers from the previous game. Okay, so here's why I like Fairy Dance Arc so much.
Please explain for me and the audience.
New worlds, new races, new mechanics, a trifecta, you know, another person to add to Kirito's harem, aka Leafa, because, you know, she has feelings for him, to set the foundation for the rest of Sword Art Online going forward. Because if you look at all the subsequent seasons, they are playing Fairy Dance, and you have this idea of like the world seed now, and now Aincrad is a world within the world. So it's like one of those things where it's actually super cool now. The magic animation is still great. Story, it's not about the game itself, it's about saving his love interest Asuna, which I totally understand. There is one section I absolutely hate about Sword Art Online's second season, and that's the last couple episodes. I don't like it at all. Yes, the infamous scene for Child Fenley
at the very end.
The infamous scene. If anybody watches Sword Art Online, you know.
I would argue the grand majority of season 1 Sword Art watchers, it should have just ended at episode 12 and left it at that. It was so, Here's my quick Ryan's 30-second hot take. Go. Sword Art Online episodes 1 through 12 was a full, complete package story. If they had just ended it right there, it would have just been 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Easy. But because they tried to fit a literal whole other show, it felt like. To me, it felt like a separate show in those last 12 episodes. It just became a train wreck for me. So for that reason, I'm giving it a 5 out of 10.
I would give a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
A respect for the first season, at least. From a literal perspective and from the story perspective, it was a rush.
Yeah.
Not the good kind of rush.
That's my biggest complaint.
Next time we do the video here, it's going to be part 2 of the series, which will focus on Gun Gale Online, Gun Gale Alternative. I may touch base on the 4 minor arcs about like the quest for the legendary sword as well as Mother Rosario, and then I may I think a big part of it that will lead into the third video will be the Ordinal Scale movies as well. So I want to actually include Ordinal Scale into that mix too, because that kind of ties everything with what we know today with augmented reality. But other than that, that's our take for the first of 1 of 3 episodes here. That's for the Sword Art Online review. Hopefully you'll be able to watch the other episodes here coming out soon, and then let us know what you think in the comments, or just
do you agree with our 5.5 combined score?
Yeah,
you give it a 1. I might reconsider and give it a 1. No,
you know what deserves a 1? High Guardian Spice.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah.
And if you know, you know, and if you don't, go check it out. Yeah, go check it out. But yeah, until then, we'll see you guys soon.
All right, peace.